Ladies and gentlemen, success is not something we chase. It's something we attract by the person we become. And that person is shaped by what we do daily. You see, the ultra-successful don't wake up hoping the day treats them kindly. No. They wake up with purpose, with a plan. They rise early. Not because they have to, but because they want to. The morning hours are theirs. They pray. They read. They move their bodies. They prepare their minds. The early morning is their sacred ground, where intentions are laid and momentum begins. You ask me, Jim, what's the secret? The secret is in your daily agenda. If you want to be healthy, make health a daily habit. Not once a week. Not when the weather is right. Every single day. A 30-minute walk. A few push-ups. A healthy meal. It adds up. Small disciplines compound into major results. If you want wealth, become a student of money. Read the books. Learn the principles. Study the wealthy. Don't spend more than you earn. Invest wisely. These aren't theories. They are habits. And if you want influence, build relationships daily. Say thank you. Make the call. Write the note. Invest in people. Because people matter. And the ultra-successful never forget that. At night, they don't just collapse into bed. No, they review the day. What worked? What didn't? What can be done better tomorrow? They write it down. They plan. They express gratitude. Success is not one event. It's not one breakthrough. It's the consistent expression of the right habits over time. Don't major in minor things. Don't spend years climbing the ladder only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. Align your habits with your highest values. I'll leave you with this. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So I urge you, review your habits. Shape your days with intention. Because if you design your daily habits well, your future will take care of it. Success is built on daily disciplines. That's the first truth we must embrace. If we ever hope to rise above average and live the kind of life most people only dream about. You see, success isn't something that happens overnight. It isn't something we stumble upon or get lucky with. It's not a lottery ticket or a miracle. Success is a result, a natural consequence of small, consistent, disciplined actions done every single day. Now, when I say discipline, I don't mean punishment. I mean the kind of discipline that builds your character. The kind that says, I will do what needs to be done, even when I don't feel like doing it. Because that's the difference between people who get by and people who rise. The ultra-successful understand that the future is shaped by today's choices. And so they treat each day like it matters. Because it does. Every single day matters. Here's what happens when you live without discipline. Life becomes reactive. You spend your time putting out fires, responding to pressure, and wondering why nothing ever seems to improve. On the other hand, when you introduce discipline into your day, you gain control. You become intentional. You stop drifting and start designing. And make no mistake, a designed life is far more rewarding than a default life. Discipline means getting up on time. It means reading instead of watching mindless TV. It means saying no to things that don't align with your goals, even when they're easy or fun. It means doing the uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable is where growth lives. And once you develop the habit of doing the necessary, the difficult, the essential, then success begins to chase you down. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become the kind of person it chases. The ultra-successful are not superhuman. They're not smarter than everyone else, but they are more consistent. That's the key word. Consistent. Anyone can eat healthy for one day. Anyone can save money for 1 week. Anyone can read a book now and then. But doing these things every single day, that takes discipline. And that's where the results come from. You want to get in shape? Don't go to the gym for 6 hours one day. Go for 30 minutes every day. You want to build wealth? Don't try to make a fortune overnight. Save a little every day. Learn a little every day. Invest a little every day. That's the formula. Small efforts, repeated daily. That's the secret. And the truth is, it isn't even a secret. It's just that most people are too distracted or too undisciplined to follow it through. The people who achieve extraordinary things didn't do it by accident. They built routines. They practiced self-control. They made sacrifices. They understood that saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. And so they chose to say yes to their future every day, in small ways. Now let me tell you something important. Discipline isn't natural. It's not automatic, but it is learnable. You can teach yourself to be disciplined. You can train your mind, just like you train your body. You can become a person who follows through, who stays focused, who honors commitments. And once that happens, once discipline becomes a part of who you are, there's almost nothing you can't achieve. Jim Rohn said, "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment." Think about that. Goals are great, but they're only dreams until you add discipline. That's the bridge. That's what gets you from I want to. So if you want to change your life, don't start by changing everything. Start by changing your day. Win the day. Do the small things. Keep your promises. Show up. Over time, those small wins add up. They compound, and suddenly you're living a life that looks very different from the one you had before. So yes, success is built on daily disciplines, and you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You need to make the choice every day to act in your own best interest, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because discipline gets easier the more you use it. And one day you'll look around and realize you've become the kind of person others admire, not because you were born with some special gift, but because you chose every single day to live with discipline. The power of a morning routine cannot be overstated. If you study the lives of the ultra-successful, one of the first patterns you'll notice is that they own their mornings. They don't stumble into the day groggy, rushed, or react. Instead, they approach each morning with clarity, control, and purpose. Why? Because how you start the day often determines how the rest of it unfolds. The morning is your foundation. It's where momentum begins. If you get your morning right, chances are you'll get your day right. And if you win enough days, you win your life. The ultra-successful understand that the morning is the most precious real estate of the day. It's a window of opportunity that's free from distractions, noise, and the demands of the outside world. It's quiet, it's still, and what you do with it sends a message to yourself and to life about your priorities, your discipline, and your direction. One of the greatest investments you can make in yourself is to craft a morning routine that nourishes your body, sharpens your mind, and strengthens your spirit. That might sound like a lot, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. Most high performers begin their day early, not because waking up early makes you successful, but because it gives you time to think, time to plan, time to move with intention. If you wait until the rest of the world is awake before you begin shaping your day, you're already behind. You're reacting instead of leading. The ultra-successful take those early hours and make them count. Many start with a practice of gratitude or silence. They sit quietly, breathe deeply, and set their mindset for the day ahead. It's not about escaping life. It's about preparing for it. Taking even 5 minutes to be still, to focus on what matters, can center your mind and put you in a state of power rather than panic. Then there's movement. It could be a full workout, a light stretch, a walk, or yoga. It's about getting the blood flowing, waking up the body, and signaling to your system that it's time to engage. Exercise isn't just for physical health. It clears the fog from your brain, boosts your energy, and sharpens your focus. The successful don't wait until they're in trouble to take care of their health. They make it a daily ritual. Another habit you'll see among the ultra-successful is reading or studying in the morning. Just 10 to 15 minutes a day of reading something inspiring, educational, or thought-provoking can change your perspective, sharpen your thinking, and fuel your ideas. The mind, like the body, needs exercise. Feeding it early in the day sets the tone for creativity, insight, and strategic thinking. And of course, planning is a cornerstone of a powerful morning routine. Taking time to review your goals, set your intentions, and prioritize your tasks gives you clarity. It allows you to act instead of react. It puts you back in control. Instead of letting the day push you around, you direct it, you lead it. Now, not every routine looks the same. What matters isn't the exact steps, but the fact that you have a process, a set of intentional actions you take every morning to put yourself in the best possible state. It could be journaling, it could be prayer, It could be meditation. It could be cold showers and green smoothies. The specific details are up to you. The key is that you're not leaving your day to chance. You're designing it on purpose. Let's be clear. Having a morning routine doesn't mean your day will be perfect. It doesn't make you immune to problems. But what it does is put you in a better position to handle whatever comes your way. It gives you a sense of direction, energy, and resilience. It helps you meet challenges with strength instead of stress. It's the edge most people never take time to develop. So if you want to step into a higher version of yourself, start with your mornings. Make them yours. Guard them. Shape them. Fill them with things that align with your goals and values. Because when you win the morning, you begin to win your day. And when you win your day consistently, you build a life that's not average, but exceptional. Lifelong learning is not just a nice idea. It is a non-negotiable habit of the ultra-successful. The most accomplished people in the world understand that learning doesn't stop when school ends. In fact, that's when the real learning begins. They know that in a world that is constantly evolving, where information doubles, industries shift, and technology transforms, staying the same is not an option. Growth is not a luxury. It's a responsibility. And the most reliable path to growth is learning something every single day. The ultra-successful are students of life. They read, they listen, they observe, they ask questions. They surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking, not just confirm it. They do not rely on what they already know. They're always reaching for what they don't know. Because the moment you stop learning is the moment you start falling behind. Knowledge is one of the few assets that compounds over time. The more you learn, the more you can earn, contribute, and lead. You'll rarely meet a high achiever who doesn't read daily, whether it's books, articles, journals, or biographies. They understand that reading is one of the most powerful tools for transformation. It opens the mind, stretches the imagination, and provides insight into how the world works. Through reading, you can learn from history's greatest thinkers, successful business leaders, brilliant scientists, and wise philosophers, without having to leave your home. The ultra-successful don't read just for entertainment, although that's fine too. They read with purpose. They read to grow. They also invest in personal development. This could be attending seminars, taking courses, watching educational videos, or listening to podcasts. They understand that every bit of information, when applied, can be a stepping stone to the next level. And they don't just passively consume information. They reflect on it. They ask, how can I use this? What does this mean for my life, my goals, my values? Learning isn't just about information. It's about transformation. Knowledge that isn't applied is wasted. The ultra-successful know this, and they use what they learn to improve how they think, how they operate, and how they serve others. Another hallmark of the lifelong learner is curiosity. Successful people are relentlessly curious. They're not afraid to ask why, or what if, or how can this be done better. They challenge assumptions, including their own. They welcome feedback. They're not threatened by the idea that they don't know something. Instead, they're energized by the opportunity to grow. Their ego doesn't get in the way of their education. And that's a key difference between those who plateau and those who soar. The ultra-successful also understand that learning isn't limited to formal education or professional development. They learn from failure. They see mistakes as feedback, not defeat. They take notes on what didn't work and adapt. Every setback becomes a classroom. Every experience is a lesson. They live with the awareness that life itself is the greatest teacher, and every day offers new material. Lifelong learning isn't just about career success either. It's about becoming a fuller, wiser, more capable human being. It improves your relationships, your decision-making, your leadership, your creativity. It deepens your perspective and strengthens your ability to adapt. In a world that rewards flexibility, innovation, and resilience, learning is your greatest competitive edge. And the best part, learning is more accessible today than ever before. You don't need to spend a fortune or take years off your life to grow your knowledge. With a smartphone and an internet connection, You can access world-class information at any time. The only real obstacle is willingness. Are you willing to dedicate time each day to feeding your mind? Are you willing to exchange some entertainment for education? Are you willing to be a student, not just once, but for life? Because those who are willing reap the rewards. They stay ahead, they stay sharp, they stay valuable, and most importantly, they continue to become the best version of themselves. So if you want to follow in the footsteps of the ultra-successful, start by feeding your mind. Read daily, reflect daily, apply what you learn, stay curious, stay humble, and above all, never stop learning. Because the more you learn, the more you'll earn, not just in money, but in confidence, competence, and contribution. Goal setting and daily review are two of the most powerful habits the ultra-successful use to guide their lives. Without goals, you're drifting. You may be working hard, staying busy, even appearing productive, but without a target, you're just spinning your wheels. Success doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design, and that design begins with setting clear, compelling goals and reviewing them every single day. The ultra-successful don't just think about what they want once a year or during some big life transition. They think about it constantly. They're focused. They know what they're working toward, why it matters, and how today's actions connect to the bigger picture. Goal setting gives their life direction. It turns hope into a plan. It transforms dreams into objectives and wishes into commitments. And reviewing those goals daily keeps them top of mind, keeping motivation alive and decisions aligned. When you write down your goals, you're not just making a list, you're declaring your intentions. You're taking what's invisible and making it visible. You're planting a flag in the future and saying, that's where I'm headed. And every time you revisit those goals, you're reminding your mind and your actions where to aim. You're training your focus, your energy, and your priorities around a chosen destination. That kind of focus creates clarity, and clarity creates power. The most successful people don't set vague goals like I want to be rich or I want to be healthy. They get specific. They say, I want to save $100,000 by this date, or I will run a half marathon in 6 months. They quantify what they want, give it a deadline, and map out the steps. They break big goals into smaller milestones and track their progress over time. This makes the goal feel real and reachable. It builds momentum. It gives them something to measure. But setting the goal is just the beginning. What separates the ultra-successful is the daily review. Every morning or every evening, they reconnect with their goals. They don't leave them buried in a notebook or lost in a drawer. They review them, rewrite them, reflect on them. They ask, what did I do today to move closer to this? Or what can I do tomorrow to advance my progress? This constant review creates accountability. It reminds them of the bigger picture and prevents them from getting lost in the noise of the day. Daily review also helps with course correction. Goals aren't static. Circumstances change. Information evolves. By checking in regularly, the ultra-successful are able to stay flexible while still maintaining direction. They adjust strategies without abandoning the mission. They stay in the driver's seat of their lives, instead of being passengers to circumstance. Another benefit of reviewing goals daily is emotional engagement. Seeing the goal every day keeps it alive in your heart. It keeps you inspired, even when the work is hard. You remember why you start, you reconnect with your purpose. And when your emotions are aligned with your efforts, discipline becomes easier. You're not just pushing through, you're pulled forward by a vision that excites you. Visualization also plays a role here. Many high achievers don't just read their goals, they picture them. They close their eyes and imagine what it will feel like to accomplish them. They experience the success mentally before it happens physically. This mental rehearsal wires the brain for achievement. It prepares the mind to act in ways that match the vision. Some also speak their goals out loud as affirmation. They declare what they're working toward in the present tense, saying things like, I am a disciplined, focused, and successful entrepreneur, or I am living a healthy and energetic life. These affirmations reinforce belief, and belief is a crucial ingredient in success. If you don't believe in your goal, You won't pursue it with the energy it requires. Ultimately, goal setting and daily review are tools of intentional living. They're how the ultra-successful make sure their actions match their ambitions. They're how they stay focused in a distracted world. They're how they keep moving forward when others lose steam. So if you want to follow their lead, don't just set goals once and forget them. Set them with clarity. Review them with consistency. Let them guide your days and shape your choices. Because when you live each day with your goals in mind, your future isn't left to chance. It's created with purpose. Health is the foundation of high performance. The ultra-successful understand this at a deep level. They know that without physical energy, mental clarity, and emotional stability, their ability to lead, create, decide, and execute is diminished. You can have all the talent, strategy, and ambition in the world, but if your health is suffering, your performance will suffer right along with it. That's why the most successful people treat their health not as an afterthought or a luxury, but as a daily priority. They treat their body and mind as their most important tools, and they take care of them accordingly. First and foremost, energy is the currency of productivity. When you have energy, everything feels possible. You can think more clearly, move more efficiently, and respond more confidently. But energy doesn't come from motivation. It comes from habits. It comes from getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, moving your body, and managing stress. These aren't just health tips. They are performance strategies. The ultra-successful build their schedules around energy, not just time. Sleep, for example, is a non-negotiable for high achievers. You won't find many ultra-successful people pulling all-nighters or bragging about how little they rest. They understand that sleep is when the body repairs, the brain consolidates information, and the nervous system resets. They treat it like a business investment, because that's exactly what it is. A well-rested mind makes better decisions, solves problems faster, and manages emotions more effectively. Cutting corners on sleep is like trying to win a race with a half-empty tank. It doesn't work in the long run. Nutrition is another core pillar. The ultra-successful fuel their bodies for performance, not for pleasure or convenience. That doesn't mean they never enjoy their meals. It means they prioritize foods that support focus, stamina, and long-term vitality. They know the difference between eating for comfort and eating for clarity. They choose meals that stabilize their blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and keep their brain sharp. And they're mindful of hydration, because even slight dehydration can impair memory, focus, and mood. Exercise isn't just about looking good. It's about functioning at a high level. Regular physical movement boosts endorphins, reduces stress, enhances creativity, and improves mental resilience. The ultra-successful use exercise as a reset button. It helps them shake off distractions, elevate their mindset, and return to work with renewed intensity. It's not always about long workouts either. Even a short daily walk, some stretching, or a few minutes of strength training can have a powerful impact when done consistently. Mental health is also front and center. The ultra-successful recognize that the mind drives everything else. They guard their mental space. They take time for reflection. They disconnect from digital noise. Many practice meditation, breath work, or journaling, not because it's trendy, but because it works. These practices reduce anxiety, sharpen focus, and cultivate emotional intelligence. And in today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, emotional intelligence is a competitive advantage. Another part of health that often goes overlooked is environment. The ultra-successful curate their surroundings to support their well-being. They minimize clutter, noise, and distraction. They surround themselves with people who uplift them rather than drain them. They make time for nature, for quiet, for stillness. Because health isn't just what you eat or how you move. It's also the spaces you occupy and the energy you allow in. And let's not forget boundaries. The most successful people protect their time, their energy, and their focus like a prized asset, because it is. They say no often. They disconnect from work to rest, and recharge. They don't fall into the trap of constant hustle without recovery. They understand the difference between being busy and being effective. They've learned that burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a barrier to excellence. In short, the ultra-successful build health into their lifestyle. It's not something they try to squeeze in when they have time. It's something they design their lives around. Because they know that when they take care of their body and mind, everything else improves. Their relationships, their business, their creativity, their leadership, it all rises with their health. So if you want to perform at a high level, don't wait until your body forces you to pay attention. Start now. Prioritize sleep, eat to fuel, move daily, protect your mind, respect your limits. Your health is not a side project. It's the main engine driving your future. Time is the one resource that can never be replaced. You can earn back money, rebuild relationships, and regain momentum. But once time is spent, that's why the ultra-successful treat time with the highest level of respect and discipline. They don't let the hours of the day slip through their fingers. They manage time with intention. They guard it with boundaries. They use it as a tool, not a trap. And they understand that how they manage time is a reflection of how they manage their life. The most successful people are not necessarily the busiest. In fact, many of them actively avoid the chaos of being busy for the sake of looking productive. Instead, they are focused. They know what matters most. They prioritize the vital few tasks that truly move the needle over the trivial many that just fill space. This is the difference between activity and effectiveness. The ultra-successful don't chase tasks. They chase results. One of the most powerful habits they build is time blocking. They schedule their priorities instead of prioritizing their schedule. Rather than hoping to find time for important work, they make time for it. They carve out uninterrupted blocks for deep focus, strategic thinking, and creative work. They treat these blocks like sacred appointments, non-negotiable and protected. They understand that great work doesn't happen in 5-minute bursts, between meetings or in the middle of distractions. It happens when your mind is fully engaged. They also master the art of saying every yes to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. The ultra-successful don't overcommit. They don't people-please at the expense of their vision. They know that their energy is finite, and every commitment carries a cost. By being selective with how they spend their time, they ensure their calendar reflects their values, not just other people's demands. Distractions are another area they take seriously. In today's world, it's easy to be constantly interrupted by notifications, emails, texts, and the endless noise of the digital world. But the ultra-successful don't let their focus be hijacked by every ping or alert. They take control of their environment. They shut off distractions when it's time to think. They batch communications so they're not reacting all day long. They train their attention like a muscle because they know that attention is the gateway to all results. Another tool many use is the concept of the daily big three, identifying the 3 most important things they need to accomplish each day. Not 30, not everything, just 3. This simple practice helps maintain clarity and control. It forces them to distinguish between what's urgent and what's truly important. When they begin each day with clear intention, they can finish with a sense of progress and peace instead of exhaustion. The ultra-successful also leverage delegation. They don't try to do everything themselves. They understand their highest value activities, the tasks that only they can do, and delegate the rest. Whether it's through hiring, outsourcing, or automating, they're always looking for ways to multiply their time. They ask, is this the best use of my energy? If the answer is no, they find a better way. They also build systems and routines to reduce decision fatigue. Instead of wasting time each day figuring out what to do next, they use structure, morning routines, planning rituals, review sessions. These aren't restrictive habits. They're liberating. They free up mental bandwidth and make success automatic. Every minute they invest in planning and structure saves hours of chaos and confusion later. But perhaps most importantly, the ultra-successful are fully present with their time. When they work deeply. When they rest fully. When they're with family, they're truly there. They don't multitask their way through life. They bring their whole self to the moment because they know that quality of time matters just as much as quantity. Time is not just a resource, it's a responsibility. The ultra-successful treat each day like it counts because they know it does. They live on purpose. They act with urgency, but not hate. They make every hour a reflection of their deepest priorities. And as a result, they build lives of substance, not just speed. So if you want to elevate your results, start by elevating your relationship with time. Don't let it slip by unnoticed. Plan it, protect it, use it with wisdom, because how you spend your time is ultimately how you spend your life. The ultra-successful understand a powerful truth. Success is not a solo sport. It's built on relationships, collaboration, and meaningful connection. No matter how talented, driven, or intelligent someone is, they can only go so far alone. That's why the most successful people prioritize building strong networks and surrounding themselves with people who elevate their thinking, stretch their goals, and hold them accountable. They know that their environment shapes their direction, and that the quality of their relationships will often determine the quality of their results. You become like the people you spend the most time with. That's not just a saying, it's a psychological reality. Your habits, mindset, standards, and even expectations are influenced by those around you. If you spend time with high performers, you tend to rise to their level. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, settle for less, or live in constant negativity, you're likely to adopt those behaviors too. The ultra-successful are very intentional about who they let into their inner circle. They build a network of influence, not just familiarity. This doesn't mean they avoid people who disagree with them. In fact, they welcome challenge and perspective, but it does mean they seek out those who share values like growth, discipline, resilience, and integrity. They want people who will push them to be better, not pull them back into mediocrity. The ultra-successful invest time and effort into cultivating relationships that matter. They don't just network for the sake of transactions. They connect for transformation. Mentorship plays a key role in this. Successful individuals almost always have mentors, people who are ahead of them, who've walked the path, and who are willing to offer guidance, wisdom, and sometimes tough love. They understand that it's faster to learn from someone else's experience than to figure everything out on their own. They're not too proud to ask for help. In fact, they see asking questions and seeking advice as a sign of strength, not weakness, because mentorship shortens the learning curve and builds confidence. But they're not just mentees, they're also mentors. The ultra-successful pay it forward. They share what they've learned. They lift others up. They create a cycle of growth where everyone is helping everyone get better, and in doing so they reinforce their own understanding, build legacy, and develop deeper connections with those around them. Another powerful relationship habit of the ultra-successful is collaboration. They know that great ideas don't happen in isolation. They happen when minds collide. They actively look for people who bring different skills, perspectives, and strengths to the table. They're not afraid to share the spotlight, because they know that shared success is stronger and more sustainable than solo wins. Collaboration creates synergy, and synergy creates breakthroughs. Trust is the currency of every great relationship, and the ultra-successful know how to build it. They follow through on their word. They show up on time. They bring value first, before asking for anything in return. They're consistent, honest, and transparent. And because of that, people want to work with them, support them, and stay connected. Success becomes a natural byproduct of the goodwill they've cultivated. They also make time for genuine appreciation. They say thank you. They acknowledge others' efforts. They write notes, make calls, send messages, not out of obligation, but from a place of sincerity. Because people don't forget how you make them feel, and relationships, at their core, are built on emotional connection. Even with all this, the ultra-successful know they're still human. They recognize the importance of family, close friendships, and community, not just for professional growth, but for emotional balance. They don't sacrifice meaningful relationships in pursuit of their goals. Instead, they integrate both. They bring their ambition and heart into every interaction. They value loyalty, empathy, and generosity. They understand that success without someone to share it with is hollow. They also regularly assess their relationships, just like they review their goals. They review their network, who inspires them, who challenges them, who drains, who supports them. They make conscious decisions to invest more in people who help them grow and gently distance themselves from those who don't align with their values or direction. Ultimately, the ultra-successful don't build empires. They build ecosystems, environments where everyone wins, everyone grows, and everyone feels empowered. They know that no one climbs to the top alone, and if they do, they'll be lonely when they get there. So they choose collaboration over competition, connection over ego, contribution over control. If you want to grow your success, grow your relationships, surround yourself with people who make you better. Be that person for someone else. Build trust, seek mentorship, collaborate generously. Because when you build a powerful circle, you're not just expanding your network, you're expanding your future.